Welcome tonight to EOP, or Educational Opportunity Program at Stony Brook University. My name is Christina LaFaso. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions and the undergrad admission side of things. I am here with some fantastic colleagues. One of my colleagues, Kelly Ballhofer, our EOP coordinator in the admissions office, is here. She's waving her hand at you all right now. She's going to be in the background answering any questions that you have throughout the presentation. So you can go ahead and use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom, or if you are on a mobile device, you can flip to the next page and see that Q&A feature to post any questions. Kelly and our team will be back there answering those throughout the presentation. But please feel free to just listen in as well. We're going to answer a lot of your questions throughout the presentation. But I have some other incredible guests with me here too. I'm going to introduce the Director of EOP, Pam Matzner, if you want to come on.
Sure. Hi, everybody, and welcome. It is so good to see all of you here tonight to get some really good information about the program and about Stony Brook University, the best SUNY school in New York State. And, we hope that you get a lot of answers to the questions you may have to help make your decision if Stony Brook is right for you, and especially our EOP family here at the university. So again, welcome.
We have Dorothy Corbett here.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to have you here to hear about our wonderful program, and I'm looking forward to helping you make the best decision ever.
And we also have L'Oreal Ellington.
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to meet you. I'm looking forward to sharing with you a little bit more about EOP here at Stony Brook University.
Thanks, everybody. So we're going to kind of pop around and have different speakers for you throughout the presentation, but we do have a slideshow for you because it wouldn't be a great presentation without some pretty images, right? So first things first, let's get that. Welcome again, EOP at Stony Brook University. The first things we're going to talk to you about is just kind of a reiteration of everything that's going on campus, general information before we get into the nitty-gritty of EOP. If you've ever sat through an information session or come for a campus tour, some of this might sound similar, but essentially our campus is quite large. We're over 1,000 acres on the North Shore of Long Island in a town called Stony Brook. So Stony Brook is so large that we have our own zip code. Our campus is broken up into different sections. Our first section is known as East Campus, and that's that top image. That's a view from the main fountain on the main academic mall, which is in the central part of the university side of things. East Campus has everything you can think of for a collegiate institution, such as Student Activity Center and Student Union, your academic buildings, lots of different campus residences. We even have our Stoller Center for Performing Arts. We have the Zucchero Art Gallery. We have different maker spaces and all sorts of spaces for students to utilize on top of all of the libraries, athletic facilities, et cetera, that we do have on our campus as well. Now, across the street on our main campus is Stony Brook University Hospital, also known as West Campus. Stony Brook University Hospital is the largest hospital in Suffolk County. It's a level 1 trauma center. It's a teaching hospital because it's also where our undergrad, grad, and doctorate health and medical programs have the Health Science Center, and they host their classes and clinical labs over there as well. Our School of Dental Medicine does their residency in there, but it's a large hospital system. So there's a big children's center, one of the best children's centers in the nation. We have a cancer center, a breast cancer center. So it's incredible, incredible things happening over there as well. Our South Shore campus in Southampton, New York, does incorporate that middle bottom image if you're looking at your screen, which is the multi-million-dollar marine research facility that's based on that campus. The Southampton campus does host some classes, but primarily for our School of Marine and Atmospheric Science students to utilize that lab and the full fleet of different research vessels and boats that go out into the bay and the Atlantic Ocean. We also have, not pictured here, we have a research and development park right off campus. We co-manage the Brookhaven National Laboratory, which is a federal facility. And we work with Cold Spring Harbor Labs as well as more often than not, we do have other research centers all across Long Island and different health sites as well. So our campus, while the main campus is where most of the students spend all 4 years of their undergraduate career, we do have all these alternative spaces to live and learn in. We also have a campus in South Korea. So just 30 minutes outside of Seoul is SUNY Korea, which incorporates both Stony Brook University and FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology. For Stony Brook University, if you're interested in things like business or computer engineering or any of our engineering courses or majors, I should say, you might be interested to know that we have that campus there. It is not for EOP students. So if you find out that you are not an EOP student, you might be eligible or want to express interest in applying for SUNY Korea. Now, at Stony Brook, we have about 18,000 undergraduate students. With those 18,000 undergrads, they are in a multitude, about 200 different academic programs that they get to choose from. Our main academics are broken down into different colleges and schools within the university. Not that you need to know the names of these, but what is important is that our majors are housed within these colleges and schools. So not only do you have your major-based courses and your minor-based courses and things along the way, your major is housed within its own department, which the department is housed within this college or school, and then that's housed within Stony Brook. So you have a multi-tiered, not only advisement system, but just level of knowledge and coursework for you along the way. Students can double major, they can have a few minors, students have areas of specialization within their major, which is not something you apply for. So there's a lot of different types of students at Stony Brook. There are some really popular majors that we're really well known for. You guys can all guess them because I'm sure that you've heard about them, but there are many, many more majors for students to choose from. What I do want to point out is for admissions purposes, we are considering what major of interest you have in order to kind of go through the admissions consideration process. So please make sure that you do some homework and figure out what major of interest you are actually wanting to go into at Stony Brook and select that on your application so that we know what you're interested in potentially when you get to Stony Brook. You'll have a ton of advisement, especially through EOP. EOP will talk about their advisement system, but even our non-EOP students have to meet with academic advisors throughout their years at Stony Brook as well. Outside of the academic piece, with 18,000 undergrads, you can guess we have a lot going on. We have about 550 clubs this year, so there's always about over 500 clubs and organizations to choose from. Some of them are built around kind of majors or career interests, while others are more focused on cultural or religious backgrounds. We have Greek life with fraternities and sororities. We also have what I call personal interest clubs, or just clubs just for fun. If you like to knit or dance, or you love playing video games or gardening, I promise you there's a club for you. So no matter how you spend your time outside of the classroom, if you want to meet people who you can network with, or you want to meet people who celebrate the same holidays you do, or eat the same food, or practice the same religion, or you want to meet people that's in a network or family for life and join a fraternity or sorority, or however you want to spend your time, I promise you, you're going to find those within our clubs and organizations, many of which were started by EOP students throughout the years. We also host about 5,000 events every semester. So there's always something going on. Some of them are small. There are seminars, there are workshops, there are professional development series, there are different kinds of information sessions, especially for master's or doctorate degrees or upper level degrees. But we also have just a ton of fun events, whether it's nights or weekends. We even have things like homecoming, which incorporate 4 days worth of planning. We celebrate springtime with a lot of different events like Earthstock or the Roth Pond Regatta, which is sort of a unique one for Stony Brook. The bottom left image actually has a picture of some of our students in one of the boats in the Roth Pond Regatta. Roth Pond is a pond on campus. A regatta is a boat race. What's unusual is these boats are only made out of cardboard and duct tape. And so I think it's over 80% of them fail. They go right into the water and then they kind of like plummet down, which is sort of unique and really fun. But students stake out their seats for hours before this happens. It's set up like an ESPN event with cameras, and we have commenters, and there are it's being broadcast live, so you can actually watch it wherever you're from. It's a really cool event. So we have celebrations all the time, but there's always something going on campus. That includes all of our sports. We do have 18 Division I athletics teams at Stony Brook. We are the Stony Brook Seawolves. Our colors are red, white, and blue. Wolfie is our mascot, and we love him. He's won Mascot Madness in the SUNY system a couple years just recently. And we really do love that the Seawolf branding really transcends past athletics as well. So even if you're not involved in athletics at all, you are still a Seawolf and you're a Seawolf for life. And we love that kind of name recognition that Stony Brook has. We love that school pride and school spirit factor that having a Division I sports program has. But if you're not interested in Division I, we also have club and intramural sports. Club sports are still competitive. They still wear the Stony Brook, uniform. They still travel on behalf of their sport. It's just not at a Division I level. Intramural sports are more about having fun. It lets you try new things and maybe learn something new. If you've never shot a bow or an arrow in your life, you can join our archery club. You want to learn how to dance, join our ballroom dancing team. And so there's really cool ways of staying active on campus, whether you play a sport or not. Now, outside of that, we do have a nationally ranked esports team. So if video games is more your thing and Super Smash Bros. is your game, you might be interested to join our esports teams because they are Stony Brook Seawolves going out there and traveling and winning. 2 years ago, they went to Hawaii and won the Super Smash Bros. National tournament. And so super cool ways of staying involved and becoming a Seawolf. Even outside of that, tickets to games are all free. It's a really cool way to cheer on your fellow students and just, meet new people and spend some cool time on campus. The other big factor of being a student at Stony Brook is the opportunity to live on campus. We house 11,000 students at Stony Brook, making us the largest residential population in New York State outside of NYU. With 11,000 other students, you're going to be in great company if you choose to live on campus. However, what's really unique to Stony Brook, again, is that we do not require you to live on campus. So if you live on Long Island, or you'd prefer to commute or stay at home or find an apartment in the area, or auntie lives down the road, you can live wherever you'd like to live and commute to campus as well. But you do have the opportunity to live on site as well. Living on campus is kind of really fun. It's a fun time because there are different styles of living that you'll progress throughout your time at Stony Brook. Initially, you'll go into dual living with at least one other roommate in a corridor style, which is a long hallway with bedrooms on each side. Everyone shares a large hangout space and a large bathroom. And then there are suite style as well. Usually by second year, you're open to that. Suite style living is maybe 2 or 3 bedrooms that share a living room and bathroom spaces. And you still have a roommate, but it's just, you open your bedroom door and you're not in a general hallway. And then there's apartment style living, exactly like what it sounds like. We have nice apartments on campus for students. They're more expensive. You can opt into those by junior year or junior level status. But those are the 3 styles of living. We have 8 different residential communities all across the campus, both east side and west side of campus. But 6 of them are on our main campus because that's where most of our students are housed. Each campus community has maybe 4 to 6 buildings in it. There's always something going on within those communities. They have their own tutoring centers. They have their own computer labs. They have their own fitness facilities, laundry facilities. So each building has that. And it's just a great opportunity to live on campus if that's something that you're open to. Eating on campus is also part of living on campus or just being a student at Stony Brook. So we have different kinds of facilities. We have dining kind of buffet facilities where students get their breakfast, lunch, and dinner part of their meal plan. But we also have things like grab and go spots. There's Island Soul, which is all Caribbean food. There's Jasmine, which is all Asian food. We have food trucks that come if you love empanadas or pizza or cookies, or you'd prefer boba tea. We have all those. And then we have some really nice restaurants at Stony Brook as well. So not only things like Carvel and Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, but we have things, I think it's called, I don't remember the name of it. It's like a steak and like a surf and turf type of spot. So if you're looking for more of a sit down experience, you can have that too. Now, because of the large kind of factor of housing at Stony Brook, we're always looking for new ways to house students due to the demand. A couple of years ago, we had a housing shortage, and Stony Brook really came together and figured out how to add 500 new beds very, very quickly in something called Seawolves Village. These are mock-ups. These are currently in the process of just being finished. We're going to have students moving into this facility come January when they come back for the spring semester. So this will be open by the time you all come. I don't know if first year students are living in this or not, so may not be something you need to worry about. But Seawolves Village is a brand new set of facilities, pretty awesome, and that we were able to not only approve it but also build it within 1 year due to the high demand of students wanting to live at Stony Brook. There are some different residential opportunities popping up over the next few years, so we're going to add in just 2 or 3 years about 800 to 900 beds that we'll have on top of the 11,000 we already have. But like I said, every residential community has those computing centers, fitness centers, laundry rooms. They have their mail rooms. They have tutoring spaces. They have their own student governments and student life meetings. And so it's just an incredible opportunity if you so choose to want to live on campus. Now let's get into some more EOP specific information. I'm going to pass this off to Pam.
Okay, there we go. Hi, everybody. So it's good to see everybody again. And Christina, I'm really excited to hear about their steak on campus. I've been here a really long time. I need to find that, please. I didn't know.
I want to say it's called seared, but I'll look it up. I'll look it up while I'm.
Oh my goodness. Well, so I have actually been at this university in EOP for 25 years. So I am so excited, and I really have such a passion for this program and its mission and what we stand for. So I'm so excited to be able to share that all with you today. So for those that don't know, EOP is approaching its 60th anniversary here in New York State. So EOP has been around for a really long time and has a really very long success record with amazing alumni that have lived and worked in New York State doing all kinds of things. We have doctors and lawyers and social workers and teachers and just you name it. Our students do it all. So I hope, whatever you see yourself doing, you can do it coming into Stony Brook through EOP. So let me talk a little bit about what that means. And this is our incoming class of last year. We had 205 students last summer who joined us. EOP does require a mandatory summer academy every summer before your freshman year, or not every summer, but the summer before your freshman year. So you would have to come in through that summer academy, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But what's really great about EOP at Stony Brook is that you are part of a very large research #1 university that has 18,000 undergrads, but you're part of a program that really makes it feel like it's a much smaller school. You get a lot of individualized attention, and we make sure that you reach your potential within our program. Now, the slide you see on the screen right now talks a little bit about all the different opportunity programs within New York State. So we have, our CUNY programs, our 2 years are called College Discovery. Our 4-year CUNYs, it's called SEEK. And then, of course, in SUNY, it's called EOP. And then in the private institutions, it's called HEOP. So here at Stony Brook, we are a state institution under SUNY, so it is EOP. Now, what we do is EOP looks at the student and their academics. Okay, that's the first thing we look at. So we look at your academics and we say, can this student be successful at a university like Stony Brook? So what our amazing admissions team does is look at everything in your application. They look at that personal statement. So spend some time working on that. They look at your grades. They look at the things you've been involved in all through high school. What did you do senior year? And they say, okay, based on this student's profile, they may not be at the exact GPA that Stony Brook general admission takes, and maybe you fall slightly below what Stony Brook normally takes, but they have the potential to do well, and they would do well if they have the support from EOP. So once you come into EOP, you are with us for the full time you are in college. You get your own advisor, you get free tutoring, you get mentoring. We give you a book stipend to help pay for your books, and we give you leadership opportunities because we see that potential in you. Now, the second part of being qualified for EOP is that your family does have to fall under certain financial guidelines. So we are going to go over that in a couple more slides, but just so you know, we look at everything to make sure that we put you in the best possible position to reach your goal of graduation in whatever that may be. So even though sometimes, I saw some questions asking about GPAs and what's too high for EOP. I'm going to tell you to make sure that if you want to be part of this program, you check off that box, and we'll talk a little bit about the application process, but you make sure you be considered for EOP. If we see that maybe you don't qualify for EOP, the university will look at you for general admissions if you're too high, maybe on the GPA side. But just understand that when you become part of this program, we're actually an academic program. So we are looking to make sure that you have the supports needed. Now, maybe, you came from a school that, didn't have all the resources that some other schools may have had. And we look at that and we say, okay, well, this student may not have had, access to tutoring in high school. But if they did, maybe they would have scored a little bit higher on, their math in their math class or in their English class. And we take a look at that. So I'm going to tell you that if you do become part of this program, we are considered, and this is not just because I've worked here for so long, I am saying this because data has proven it, that Stony Brook's EOP is the #1 EOP in New York State. So we bring in our students, we give them the supports, they're successful, they're leaders on campus. As Christina mentioned, we have over 500 clubs and organizations, and so many of them were started by EOP students. Until today, every one of those 500 clubs and organizations have EOP representation. So I'm going to pass it now over to my colleague, L'Oreal, who will continue to talk a little bit more about the EOP supports that we offer.
All right. So hello everyone again. So I'm here and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the support that you're going to get in once you are admitted and a part of the EOP. Not just program, because we're more than just a program. We are an EOP family. So from the time that you come in and the time you graduate to beyond, you are always family. So once EOP, always EOP. So we hope to welcome you into our family sooner. So when it comes to the supports here within EOP, we do offer that academic support and tutoring, as mentioned, right in our space. If you ever have the pleasure to come visit us, actually right in our EOP office, we have not only a space for computer labs where if you want to come and you want to study just from somewhere else, besides on campus, and you want to come back into the EOP office, we have an entire space where you can just kind of come, hang out with your friends. We have chairs there. We have couches there where you can kind of hang out. We also have in our other space, also attached to our office, an entire computer tutoring center. So as mentioned, our tutoring in EOP is free. So we have tutoring that covers the chemistry, your math, your writing, your language, and a variety of different areas. So there's no need to sign up or register. Just come to the EOP office, and then that's where your tutoring will be handled. You will also receive one-on-one academic advising with your academic counselors like myself, where we'll go through every class that you need to take to complete so you can complete your graduation in a successful time. So going through not only what your major courses are, but what other courses you're interested in. And in addition to that, we don't only want to develop you as far as towards your major, we also want to help develop you towards your career. Right? So we want to make sure that we're providing you opportunities to meet with our career center, connecting with our career center. As Pam said, all incoming students are a part of our summer program. So right before you actually start your fall year in our summer program, we have a career fair. We have a job fair, so you can actually connect with the career center and get a job right before you even start the fall semester. So we're doing a lot of this professional and career development as early as the summer, and it just continues into your fall, your spring, and your semesters to come. Also within the EOP office, we offer a variety of different workshops where we invite other academic departments to come into our space to speak with you and to meet with you, as well as we offer, not only through Stony Brook, but even through SUNY, different conferences that we encourage our students to be a part of. There are especially different opportunities because you are an EOP student that you would be eligible for. So we definitely encourage, our students to partake in all of those. As mentioned, we are first an academic program. However, we do provide some financial support as well. So like I said before, just being EOP, we have this special program called the EOP Pre-Medical Opportunity Program. So if some of you are here this evening and you're thinking about going down the pre-med track, that's great. But as you may know, or as you're preparing to learn more day by day, when it comes to looking down, the pre-med track or that pre-health track, there's a lot of things that you want to kind of expose yourself to and kind of gain that experience. So maybe in high school, you didn't have those connections. Maybe you didn't have that networking opportunity. Within this specific program that's just for EOP students, we provide that. So in addition to that, we are making sure that you have that academic support. So you're making sure that you're taking those classes that you need, doing well in those classes. We are also going to provide you mentorship. So if there's opportunities to connect with other physicians, maybe in the areas that you're thinking about going into, we also want to provide you clinical experience. And then, as you may know, before you can officially go into the next phase of your medical career, we want to also make sure that you're ready to take that MCAT exam. So we want to make sure you also have that throughout your time as well. So this is something that's definitely, we do recommend when the time comes to take advantage of it. Now, we only shared a little bit of things about what it's like to be a part of EOP. So if you're already excited to be about part of EOP, here is a little bit more about the eligibility to be EOP. So to be considered for EOP, you have to be a New York State resident, for at least 12 months prior to actually your enrollment of graduating from your high school. Also, when it comes to EOP, we are not only looking at your academics, we are also going to be looking at your financial. So with EOP, you have to qualify as academically disadvantaged according to the guidelines. And in a couple of slides, we'll kind of look at what those guidelines are and come from a historical disadvantaged background. Okay. So in the next slide, we'll see what that actually looks like. So here is that economic, on one side, the economic eligibility guidelines. So these guidelines are not created from Stony Brook. They are from New York State. So I know some of you already kind of in the chat were kind of looking at all those things, or maybe have come to other sessions prior to tonight and kind of know all of this. Don't get so caught up on this part. But this is an example. This is showing you exactly what they're looking for. But like I said, don't get so caught up on that part. You kind of want to focus on the academic eligibility. So the academic eligibility for EOP here at Stony Brook is an overall GPA of about an 82 or higher. When it comes to the English GPA, about also an 82 or higher, and then the math GPA about an 85 and higher. When it comes to the SAT and the ACT, they are test optional. If you do decide to send your scores, those scores are in the range of about, for the SAT, about a 980 and higher, and then the ACT about a 19 and higher. So like I said, don't get so caught up on the on the economic, and try to focus more on your academics and doing the best you can as you're finishing up your senior year. And at this time, I'm going to pass it back over to Christina to talk a little bit more.
Thanks, L'Oreal and Pam. Pam mentioned that we're the best EOP site in the state, and I have to agree. As one of the EOP coordinators for the institution, we have a big undertaking at Stony Brook. And now I know some of the questions in the chat have been focused around, like, how do I get in? How do I increase my chances? Because we are a competitive EOP site. Last year, we received over 9,000 applications just for EOP. For reference, we received in total about 64,000 applications for our first year class. 9,000 of those were just for EOP. which is the largest number of applications in the SUNY system by well over 1,000. The next school was just under 8,000. And so we saw an increase last year from fall 24 to fall 25. We saw an increase of about 7.4%. So every year we're going up and up and up in regular applications, but also EOP applications. Now, not all 9,000 students were considered. Some students didn't finish their application. They withdrew their applications throughout the kind of cycle. But the other thing is that academic eligibility plays a big part, like L'Oreal just went over. Now, students have to be academically eligible for EOP. Students that fall below what L'Oreal just went over. So if they have below an 81, 82 GPA, if they have below kind of those math standards, on English standards, so figure below the 82, 85, we would not consider you, unfortunately, just due to the sheer competitiveness of our program. So those are hard minimums. However, the high end of our spectrum, we have one of the most rigorous institutions within the SUNY system. With that being said, our academics are quite tough at Stony Brook. And because of that, some of our majors are really competitive and really restricted. And so there is no real top end to a spectrum of who is academically eligible for EOP. What I mean by that is there are some students with a 94 GPA that get admitted to EOP, whereas a 94, if you apply to other EOP sites, is totally outside of their realm of who's going to get into EOP. In its mission, as was stated, this is an academic support program. So if we think that you meet certain criteria academically to need and be productive and really successful at Stony Brook with all of the services that was just shared with you, we feel that you might be academically eligible. And out of those 9,000 students, just over 2,000 we felt were actually truly academically eligible for the program. Those students are also looked at for economic eligibility, like L'Oreal went over. Out of those students, only about 1,000 were found to be economically eligible. And so you can see realistically, while we admitted and started with a class of about 200 we took in last year, just over, we had to choose those 200 out of those 1,000 or some odd students that were both academically and economically eligible. And so we made admissions offers to about 450. And I'm going into these details because a lot of you are talking about how competitive our program is. And so I want you to know that admission is not guaranteed just because you're eligible, not at Stony Brook. Maybe at some of those other sites that Pam was mentioning, whether it be in the SUNY EOP system, in the SEEK or College Discovery system in the CUNYs, or an HEOP site across New York State. But our EOP site is still very competitive. Now, how you can apply to Stony Brook in general, you apply online, you use the Common App or the SUNY app. We don't care which one. Please just use one. Don't apply on both. On the application, you will have your essay. It's the only essay required of EOP applicants. There is no additional essay to apply for EOP at Stony Brook. Your transcript and letter of recommendation, we only require one letter, by the way. Those will come in from your counselor. So as long as you're informing them or have some sort of system in place that they know where you're applying, those will get sent by your counselor or college advisor, even a CBO director if that's what's in your school. Test scores, like L'Oreal mentioned, are totally optional. In fact, our EOP students are really not submitting test scores on average. L'Oreal mentioned that the bottom kind of number is a 980 at minimum on an SAT that we need to see. Please don't submit anything below a 980. On the top end, I'd say about a 1,200 is where you know, in between a 980 and a 1,200 for SATs for EOP. Feel free to submit them, but realistically, out of 9,000 applicants, it was only a couple hundred that submitted the SATs or ACTs. And so on average, EOP applicants really aren't submitting those. The other part of it is making sure that you actually apply for EOP. Now, how you do that is really simple, in fact. On the SUNY application, it's right on the start page. So once you open up your application, it's going to ask you if you're a freshman or a transfer student, if you're applying for full-time or part-time, if you're an adult learner. Question number 4 right there. Are you applying for the Educational Opportunity Program? Yes or no? Okay, so if you click yes, we're going to see your application for EOP. If you click no, that's it. You're a general applicant. Same thing on the Common App. The question is essentially the same. If you're applying for EOP, it's a yes or no, but it's on the SUNY Stony Brook supplement part of the Common App. So the Stony Brook section on the Common App. Okay, so that's how you can apply to EOP, both to the university and EOP itself within the university. A lot of you are also asking about deadlines. Now, we do have an early action deadline. It just passed November 1st. You had to have a completed application by. We extended that softly to November 8th. So anyone who's still currently in early action status for EOP, all that means is you will find out if you're academically eligible sooner than others. That is it. You will not receive an admissions decision, a full or final admissions decision by the end of January. This is not a true early action process, EOP, because it has academic and economic eligibility criteria. It's a longer review process. So we will not be sending out admissions decisions by the end of January for anyone who applied through early action but is an EOP applicant. Okay, again, if you're applying or had applied for EOP for early action, all that it means is we will inform you if you are academically eligible for EOP, and that is it. You will not find out a true admissions decision until we are able to review both academically eligible and economically eligible students. Realistically, the bulk of our students apply for regular decision. The EOP and regular decision application and completion deadline is January 15th. Please do not wait for January 14th to apply. I cannot stress this enough. The sooner you apply, the better. The better your chances, the better your opportunities, and the better the odds, because it takes a really long time to get through this review process. And so the earlier you apply, if you haven't applied yet, it's okay, but I would apply in the next couple of weeks. Give yourself that time. Do not wait for January to apply. What we see is the bulk of our students that end up getting through the process and getting an admissions offer applied before the December timeframe of their senior year. What the review process realistically looks like is that students apply for EOP in Stony Brook. They are academically reviewed by myself, my colleague Kelly, who's in the background answering all your questions in Q&A, and our full admissions team. That academic review is in place first and foremost. So again, you will find out if you're academically eligible quite quickly or quicker than a final admissions decision. You are also going to be economically reviewed. So L'Oreal mentioned what that criteria is. The criteria is on our EOP website at Stony Brook. It's also on the SUNY EOP website. I did put it in the chat for some of our early arrivers. I will put it in the chat before we conclude tonight as well for those links. Economic review does not happen by Stony Brook. Those guidelines are not Stony Brook guidelines. They are SUNY guidelines. So SUNY is actually going to do the review process this year. They're going to send you an EOP portal for SUNY where it's going to ask for a financial information form. That form has to be submitted along with other financial documents to SUNY through that SUNY portal, not to Stony Brook. In that SUNY portal, you have to check it regularly and check your email because they might come back and say, this is not enough. We need these documents as well. So until you complete that economic review process from SUNY, we will not be able to consider you for a seat in the EOP class. So I highly, highly, highly encourage you to be checking your email, checking your Stony Brook portal, and checking your SUNY portals quite regularly to ensure that you're doing everything that you need to do and submitting everything you need to submit to be reviewed for both sides of the review process. Because again, step number 4 here, only students who have been deemed both academically and economically eligible will be considered for a seat in our class. And to reiterate one more time, just due to the high number of applications we receive, even if a student is deemed to be eligible, both academically and economically, it does not guarantee admission. So again, the sooner you get through these processes, the better. Now, the SUNY portal that they send you is quite easy to use. I will say that. The financial information form is a digital form. It's not a piece of paper you need to print and fill out and scan in somehow. It's digital. It's right there for you. It's called the financial information form. You click on it in the portal. The portal will also have all these tabs that you see on the top and steps that'll kind of push you through along the way. Once they're asking for financial documents, it will have upload areas for you to submit those financial documents. This is a totally secure system. It is asking for detailed financial documents, so it will give you more information about what those documents are, what it looks like. It might even have some examples, but you have to upload them through this portal in order for them to consider you for economic eligibility. So once SUNY does that, they'll send us a list back of students and say, yes, Christina is economically eligible. And we match that up and we see that Christina is also academically eligible. Now Christina can be reviewed for a seat in our class. Some examples of financial documentation that you want to start thinking about if you haven't already started this process to have on hand or have kind of at your fingertips. Tax returns and W-2s are very common to be asked. Other non-filing statements from the IRS, very common statements to be asked of you. Income forms and other public assistance documents, court documents, or other sorts of residency forms might also be asked of you. And so because this is a New York State funded program, you have to be a New York State resident. And so sometimes if there's questions about that, or parents live in another state, or you're doing high school outside of New York State, there might be some questions on that. So just keep in mind that SUNY is going to request all these documents in your portal. They will be emailing you as well saying, hey, we need these documents. Hey, you haven't done this yet. So please, please, please make sure you're checking your email, everybody. And I know there's probably parents in the room. Parents, this is not your application. Those emails are not going to go to you. They are going to go to the student. So make sure your student is checking their email, their spam folder, their junk folder, their trash, and anywhere else that these emails might end up. One of the last pieces before we flip it back to EOP to talk about the kind of tuition and financial aid that our students are receiving is kind of the realistic middle 50% of last year's admitted class. You're going to see 4 different quadrants on your screen. The upper left quadrant is our general student. This is not EOP. This is the general admitted class of last year, had between a 92 and a 98 GPA. This is the first year in, I think, university history that the middle kind of moderate or average student had about a 95 GPA and higher that was admitted. So you can see the SATs there are quite high. We're a test optional school, so quite typically students are submitting very high test scores. Our general class had between a 1350 and a 1470 SAT score. Now, if you look in the lower right quadrant of your screen, you will see the EOP AIM class profile. EOP students had between an 86 and a 90 GPA on average. Still a great GPA. A 90? Come on, that's still a fantastic GPA. You can see it's right below our general class profile. The SAT scores, a 1040 to a 1210, were the middle 50% of our admitted EOP students. A 1210 and a 90, you're thinking there's no way that's EOP eligible. At Stony Brook, due to the competitiveness of our general pool, that is eligible for EOP. And so keep in mind these kinds of guidelines when you're thinking about, am I general or am I EOP? Do I need EOP support or do I match up more to the general class profile? Should I submit my SATs? I don't know. I've got a 1400. I don't know if I should submit them because I really want EOP. And so please take these very transparent and very realistic guidelines on what the average admitted student was for both our general and our EOP class pool. Now, generally, our students are coming from all over New York State. Almost 80% of our students are from New York State as a university. 49 states, Wyoming. We couldn't get a student from Wyoming to come to Stony Brook this year. So that's our challenge for next year. But for EOP, 100% of our class is New York State. It reiterates what our total class was, 64,000 applicants, 39 or almost 4,000 students were enrolled. Out of those, it was about 9,000 applicants and about 200 enrolled into EOP. But let's flip it over to Dorothy. She's going to talk to you a little bit more about the costs associated with coming to Stony Brook.
Thanks, Christina. Okay, so the wonderful thing about Stony Brook EOP is that it's part of the SUNY system, and affordability is what we do at SUNY. So tuition for New York State residents, because we do not have out of New York State residents, is around $7,000. The fees a little bit under $4,000. Housing for the year, and this is a traditional double. Some students do have triples, but this is based on a traditional double, around a little bit over 11,000, and then the meals are a little bit over 7,000. So the total direct cost for a New York State resident is $30,000 for the year. And let me tell you, as a parent of a college student, that is much more affordable than private schools. The out-of-state residence is significantly more, and we have a lot of them at SUNY, but that will not be an EOP student. Most of our students, 88.7% of our students, are full-time. First-year students receive some form of financial aid. In our capacity, everyone in EOP is EOP eligible just by the requirements to get into EOP. Next slide. Okay, now this is about financing your education. So there are different ways to finance your education. We're going to start with things on your own. And these are scholarships that you can get either because you apply for them, or there's something that has to do with your high school, your neighborhood, your church. But you can get a merit scholarship. That's something that you could get in or out of Stony Brook. Scholarship Universe is a place that you can apply. National Merit Scholarships, valedictorian and salutatorian scholarships, and there are special scholarships. These are things, like I said, that you can do on your own. There is a limited amount that you could apply at Stony Brook, but for the most part, these are things that you're going to do through your own efforts. Now, there are certain grants that are entitlements to students who are eligible to complete a FAFSA and apply to Stony Brook. The first one is Pell. Pell is an income-based grant given by the federal government under Title IV, and that would be most of EOP students, just again based on the requirements to be an EOP student in New York State. Another one is Federal Work Study. That's another I'm skipping over. Federal Work Study is another Title IV grant that you get through the federal government. However, it is not directly admitted, just applied to your bill. It is something that you actually have to get a job on campus. And I think L'Oreal was talking about this earlier in terms of the wonderful things we do on campus. In our summer program, even before you start your fall semester, we have a job fair for our summer program students where they can get a Federal Work Study job in the summer to start working in the fall and earn that Federal Work Study money. And then we have New York State aid. So we have New York State aid is TAP and Pell. On a small occasion, we will have some students who qualify for other New York State aid, but for the most part, all of our students qualify for TAP and Pell. And then there's the EOP, the Opportunity Program funding. That's a small amount of grants that comes through SUNY EOP. The New York State DREAM Act. Some of our students who are eligible have benefited from the New York State DREAM Act as well. Going back to Title IV money, we have loans. So there's federal loans that you can qualify for, just like the Pell Grant and the Work Study. That's the federal government provides, very low income rate. It's probably the best kind of loan that you can ever get if you're going to acquire debt. And then we have private loans. Private loans are things that come from banks, organizations, nonprofits, things like that, that also give loans that kind of mirror or come very close to the terms of agreement that the federal loan gives. The only difference is not monies that come from the government. It's coming from a private entity. Most federal loans are subsidized for EOP students, but you can also get an unsubsidized loan. A lot of people go crazy about that, subsidized versus unsubsidized. The amount of loans that our students take out is could really not be, it's really not a huge deal. So most of the loans, like I said, are subsidized. Students usually get offered in the range of about $2,000 a year in unsubsidized loan. And so for a semester, for example, that would be split in half. So $2,000 for the year, $1,000 goes to the fall, $1,000 goes to the spring. $1,000 loan with a maximum of a 9% interest rate, which is what the federal government provides through the FAFSA, is $90. So you're going to get a letter at the end of the semester and say, hey, you've incurred $90 worth of interest. Would you like to pay it now? Or would you like us to add it onto your principal? So you can choose to pay it, interest gone. It's a scary word when people hear unsubsidized, but it's really not a scary thing to allow you to come in the way of paying for your education. But like I said, the subsidized loans are usually the first ones offered as a New York State resident. And then after that, if you still have a gap, you're offered an unsubsidized loan through the federal government. And most private loans are unsubsidized and you pay the interest up front. Okay, financial aid versus the university costs. As I mentioned, I'm going to start with my right. As I mentioned, the tuition, the fees, the room and the meals come out to about $30,000 a year. Now, on the left-hand side, if you look at New York State TAP, that was New York State aid, New York State tuition credit, also New York State aid, Pell, that's the Title IV federal money that I was speaking about, EOP Direct Award, which is also New York State. The SBU Wolfie Grant is a campus-based aid, and I'm just going to say something to you really quick while I say campus-based aid. There's certain kinds of campus-based aid that Stony Brook offers to students who fill out their FAFSA before February. The FAFSA is open now. I advise everybody listening to the sound of my voice, if you can fill out a FAFSA, fill it out ASAP. Because students who do not fill out their FAFSA before February are not entitled to campus-based aid. So again, the Wolfie Grant is campus-based aid that goes to students. Federal SEOG is campus-based aid. So this is money that the federal government gives to the campus and then the campus gives it to students. It is not like Pell that it's an entitlement that goes directly to the students. It is at the discretion of Stony Brook and it's a limited amount. So once it's gone, which is why Stony Brook puts a deadline on who can get it. Subsidized loan entitlement to the student comes from the federal government under Title IV and the unsubsidized loan as well. So the average package estimate of a freshman with EOP will be around $29,000. So if you compare the $29,000 to the $30,000 tuition, there is a little bit of a balance of about $800, which comes out to about $409 a semester. And that is the balance for EOP students. For non-EOP student, because they're not getting as many grants, if they have the same financial eligibility as an EOP student, they'll get about $24,000 in aid, and their balance will be closer to $5,800 or closer to $6,000, just not being an EOP. So being an EOP does make a difference. So if you are eligible, it'd be great for you to apply. Last but not least, here's some numbers. The financial aid office email is finaid@stonybrook.edu. The number is right below it. Some websites that you will need: studentaid.gov, very important, hesc.newyork.gov, that's all New York State aid. And the website for our financial aid office is stonybrook.edu/financial aid. Do you want me to take this one too? I can absolutely talk about Stony Brook some
Yes,
more.
please.
So these are some wonderful facts about our students. 95% of our students, of EOP students, recent graduates with their bachelor's degree, are either employed already or employed in a graduate and professional school. I personally work with the alumni. I'm the coordinator of the EOP Alumni Affinity Group at Stony Brook University. So I can tell you, L'Oreal was at homecoming. A lot of tears were shed watching the amazing things that our students were doing. I have students who work for Boeing making airplanes. I have students who are in medical school. I have students who are working at Google. I have students who are working at all these amazing companies, people who I touched, who I remembered moving into their summer program, giving up their senior summer and hating me in the beginning, and then coming back many years later and giving me hugs and kisses and loving me because like L'Oreal said, we are an absolute family. I call them my kids. I share them with their moms and dads because I love them with all my heart. All of us do. And they're doing amazing things. And the interesting thing about the success of an EOP student is when an EOP student is successful, they actually bring success to the entire family. So when you have a family who sends their child to Stony Brook to EOP, who is at their freshman year below the poverty line, when this student gets a job as an engineer at Boeing, or as one of our students with the wonderful name Muhammad Ali, Pam student, actually worked on the Long Island Railroad extension from Grand Central Station. I don't know how many of you young people realize, but at one point in time, the Long Island Railroad did not go to Grand Central. It only went to Penn Station. Well, one of the lead engineers who worked on the project to make it go to Grand Central Station was an EOP student that came right out of Stony Brook named Muhammad Ali. I call him the champ. So when you see students do these kinds of amazing, practical, everyday things from some of the popular and biggest organizations in the world, it really makes you see how wonderful our program is.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. So we're about to kind of go into some questions. So I will have everybody, but Kelly's going to remain answering questions in Q&A. If we can have Pam, Dorothy, and L'Oreal come back on screen, and I'm going to pose some questions to you. But there are a lot of questions in the Q&A. And so what I'm encouraging our guests to do is, if you still have questions after today, email us, call us, text us. That information is on the screen for you. I highly encourage you to reach out. We would rather answer your questions than not, but we know we're not going to get through all the questions tonight because there's just too many in there. For reference, there are well over 100 questions that we received tonight. And so pose your questions to the admissions office. Myself and my team will get back to you. Enroll at stonybrook.edu. You can call us Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., 631-632-6868. You can also text us. Don't expect an immediate response like how your friends would get back to you, but we will get back to you. And so for now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Our lovely faces are going to come back on your screen so you can watch us answer your questions live. But the first question I have, let's see, what is the deadline for EOP if the application is for early action? And when can students hear back? And I'll take this one just because EOP doesn't kind of do that process. If you're applying for EOP and you already applied for early action, for those of you asking if early action is still available, no, the deadline has already passed. It is November 13th. The deadline to complete was November 1st. If you had applied already sometime in September or October, you will only find out about academic eligibility somewhere between December and January. Some of you might even find out as early as next week. For those of you who are still submitting their applications or still submitting documents, the deadline to do all of that is January 15th. But again, the sooner, the better. Please get your documents in. Most admissions decisions for EOP specifically will be released in between February and the end of March. Again, because EOP matches more up to a regular decision timeline, the bulk of our admissions decisions will be shared hopefully before April, but between February and March is where we're expecting the bulk of admissions decisions for EOP to be shared, okay? Pam or Dorothy or L'Oreal, I don't care who answers this. There's been a couple of questions about diversity at Stony Brook. We really don't go into that. Federal policy kind of regulates how much we dive into diversity, but do you all want to talk about what diversity means and how much it's so much more than race and ethnicity and all that at Stony Brook?
Dorothy, you want to do it? This is like your question, I know. So
I will say this, there's two different things about EOP and Stony Brook. I'll start with EOP. EOP, our freshman class, we love to herald that we are a representative of what the world looks like. In the summer, we do a celebration, usually at the end of the summer. and we find out that we represent somewhere upwards of 70 to 80 different national flags. So we have students whose families have come from literally all over the globe. And the thing that we have in common, the blood that holds EOP together, is everybody in EOP comes from the same socioeconomic background. So we are very, very similar in terms of who our student population is. And then on campus, we have so many students who find their way, who find their path and find their niche. EOP is always a family and everybody always comes home, but then students separate. I think Christine was talking about it earlier with our clubs and our organizations. If you are somebody who likes to walk in nature, or like me, who does not like nature and likes concrete and likes to do, I don't know, vacation or decorate, people who like to dance, different kinds of music, people who like to do art, people who like to build robots, you're going to find your way on the Stony Brook campus and you're going to find your people. The wonderful thing also in EOP and in Stony Brook is that you find when you're in high school, there's not a lot of people like you. The university is so huge, you're going to find your people. Like I just said, I'm a person who doesn't like nature. I don't walk in grass. I found my people at Stony Brook, even as an employee. I see students who say when they were in high school, there was nobody like me. There was nobody into the things that I was into. And then when they get to campus, they find people who are like them, who learn like them, people who learn differently, people who experience the world differently, people who want to have new experiences and never left the city or never left a small town upstate. You find your people at Stony Brook. So I will say that in addition to having your family, because we do become family, Pam and I are absolutely mama number two. Sometimes I'm the mom, sometimes I'm the dad, I don't know, but we're definitely parents. L'Oreal's up in there too. We are definitely creating the family environment for our students in EOP, and it is a safe haven. But then outside EOP, there's such a big breadth and the world is right at your fingertips. We used to have an EOP counselor who's actually at another university right now, not the best. We're the best. But anyway, he used to always say that Stony Brook is a microcosm of the world, that anything that you're going to find out in the world, you can start finding it out at Stony Brook. Everything, learning how to row a boat, learning how to bake, learning how to cook, whatever it is that you want, doing hair, whatever it is that you're into, you can find it at Stony Brook.
Thanks, Dorothy. There are a lot of questions that came in regards to like some transfer eligibility and all that. I just want to highly encourage you all to open up the chat on the bottom of your Zoom. I put some really fantastic information in there for you. Not only our own EOP webpage, which has both everything we talked about today, the academic eligibility, the economic eligibility, the transfer guidelines if you're a current transfer EOP student or hopeful student, as well as that sample financial aid package that Dorothy went over. That's truly incredible. That's on the website as well. So make sure you go and check out our Stony Brook EOP website. We're also next week hosting a financial aid event called Decoding Financial Aid, What You Need to Know. It's next Wednesday at 7 p.m. If you want to join us, the registration link is in there, as well as many other links and contact information for you to jot down. But in an effort
can we just mention,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, can we just mention for people that are thinking of transferring, just know at Stony Brook, we do not take spring transfers, only fall transfers. So I just want to let people know that.
Thank you for that. L'Oreal, maybe you can answer this one. For scholarships, we apply for that. Let's see, we apply for them when we get accepted to Stony Brook, or can they apply anytime? When would students apply for additional scholarships at Stony Brook?
So when it comes to additional scholarships, at first you're going to apply, specifically when it comes to EOP, when we were talking about some of that aid and those things, just when you apply, there are certain things that are automatically attached because you are an EOP student that you do not have to apply for. But if you want to apply for other external scholarships, you are always more than welcome to do that and bring that in with you as well. So like I said, coming in, when you're already EOP, there are going to be some financial scholarships and aid that's going to be given to you just because you are EOP. But if there are other external scholarships that you're looking into, like right now, you're looking into some scholarships that you're interested in or you want to apply for, you're more than welcome to do those, and then also bring those into Stony Brook when you get here as well.
Great. Pam, how full are the classes? What's the range of how many people sit in our classes at Stony Brook?
So I'll start with the EOP Summer Academy. So when we bring you into the EOP Summer Academy, and like Dorothy mentioned, we try even at the Summer Academy level to really give you a taste of what it's like in the university during the regular year. So you get to do that within the EOP class of about 200. And we have classes that are just like at Stony Brook. You'll have classes that have 20 students in them, and then you'll have a class that has all 200 students in them. So we have very small classes at times, depending on your major, depending on some of the more smaller like general education courses. But then there are some classes that are very big at Stony Brook, which some students really love those big classes of 200 to 300 people at one time. Now we teach you during the Summer Academy some of the strategies for success in both those kind of classes, whether they're 20, whether they're 50, or whether they're 200 to 300, and how to do well in those big classes. So there is a wide range of sizes of classes, but it's not really the size that is going to make you successful or not. It's how you approach the material and the strategies for success that we teach you. So I don't want people to be afraid of those big classes, because we understand that people are afraid of those big classes and we help you figure them out.
Thanks. Students will be receiving an email from both. So let's go through this one more time. You apply through Common App or SUNY App. Once you press submit on that application, it gets sent to Stony Brook if you applied to Stony Brook. Once we process your application, we're going to send you an email from Stony Brook saying, hey, thanks for applying. Here's your login for your Start SBU portal. That portal is just going to be a reiteration of your application and allow you to see that you're EOP and what major you selected and all that. SUNY will send you all access to either a SUNY EOP portal for SUNY applicants or for Common applicants. So if you applied SUNY App or Common App, you're going to get portal access from SUNY, not from Stony Brook. So make sure you're looking out for emails from both. SUNY will send you access to the SUNY EOP portal, which is where you're going to submit the financial information form and other financial documents. Two different portals, longer application process. But again, this is an academic and financial support program run through New York State. So New York State SUNY is going to be reviewing you for that economic eligibility. When the summer program starts, do students sleep on campus for those weeks? What's attendance like for those?
So I'll say number one, the Summer Academy is a mandatory program that you must successfully complete in order to gain full admission into Stony Brook. And I could tell you in my 25 years, there's a very small amount that did not make it through because they listen to the things we tell them to do during the summer, and you'll be fine. But you do have to stay on campus for the full duration of the Summer Academy. And this year it will be June 27th to July 24th. So just, make note of those days. You do stay on campus. It's free of charge. You get your housing, your meals. You get up to 6 credits free of charge, which can cost you upwards of a lot, like thousands. So how much is 6 credits now? Like
About
$1,500-ish?
$2,800 for
Oh,
two
it's 20,
classes.
okay, with the
It's
fees,
about
yes.
13. With fees and everything included, one class at Stony Brook is a little bit over $1,300.
Yeah, so you are getting that free of charge towards your graduation credits. And the best part about the Summer Academy, honestly, in my opinion, is the community that we build, that you come into the fall semester feeling like you're not a freshman. You have a group of friends. You have a bunch of wonderful counselors who are there to help support you and guide you. So it's a really great program, but it is mandatory to stay on campus. Even if you're a commuter during the regular year, you will still come to the Summer Academy and stay on campus.
That concludes our event tonight, everybody. It's 8:12. We took 12 extra minutes from you all. I really appreciate everyone who joined us tonight. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you all to our fantastic EOP team, both in admissions and EOP AIM. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope you have an incredible night. Make sure you check out those links I put in the chat. Get your questions answered through contacting us at a later time, and we'll be happy to help you out. But enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. We hope to see you on campus soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.